Bright Meat presents Rapsidious by Joseph Gatz. Read by Pumpkin Patch 1234. Edited by Xufei Liu. Part 4. A Shock. Chapter 1. Dr. Patel paced around his office inside the Sacramento Adult Care Facility, which was located at the center of the city. His office was on the 30th floor of the building, and from his window he could see hundreds of miles on a clear day. But even with the blue skies and clear visibility, Dr. Patel wasn't interested in the view. He was interested in ending the current phone call he was on with his cousin Deepak. "We had an agreement, cousin," he said, taking off his glasses and setting them down on his desk, then rubbing his eyes in exhaustion. "I would loan you the money you needed, and you would let me help you budget your future paychecks until we got you practicing healthily financial management. I am not trying to mother you, but you have to let—" Deepak, who was speaking from his apartment in Seattle, Washington, interrupted his cousin. "I'm a grown man, Ashok. I work very hard for my money, probably harder than you do. It takes me a month to make what you make in a week. I don't need you or anyone else treating me like a child." "Listen to me, Deepak. No one is treating you like a child, and you know this. I am simply stating that we had an agreement and that you promised—" "Promised? I didn't promise anything. I even told you that I didn't want to borrow money from you. I was going to borrow it from my father. It was you who insisted that I take your money, and now you want to hold it over me. This is not acceptable, and I would never have expected this kind of treatment from you, Ashok." The doctor sighed. He knew his uncle well. It's an unwritten rule within their family that you never borrow money from him. Once, when he was younger, Ashok's own mother borrowed from him to help put food on the table. Deepak's father came collecting on the first of the month and demanded extra payments and interest. Ashok's family was left worse from the experience. You know that wouldn't have been good for anyone, Deepak. You know how he is with money. I offered you the money to spare you having any of that additional stress. I wanted to put you on a path of success where you didn't owe anyone any money with the condition that—" "Condition? You can go to hell," said Deepak. "I am not one of your drug addict patients that you can put a condition on. If you didn't want to lend me the money, you shouldn't have offered. You practically forced me to accept it. And don't worry, I will pay you back and I'll figure this out on my own. I don't need you or anyone else. I've been figuring things out on my own without anyone's help." "But you don't have to, cousin," said Dr. Patel. "That's what I'm trying to help you understand. I'm not against you. I am on your side. We're on the same side, and together we both want the same thing, to see you succeed. I'm just asking for the opportunity that we agreed upon." "Will you stop saying that word?" Deepak spat, venom in his voice. "We didn't have an agreement. You offered to help and I accepted. If you no longer want to help me, then just say so and stop meddling in my life. Look, I have to go. Some of us have to work for a living." The phone clicked and went silent as the call ended. Dr. Patel was furious with his cousin and furious with himself. He wanted to take his phone and throw it into the wall, but he knew that that wouldn't solve anything. 1, 2, 3, he counted. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Earlier during the call, the doctor's pager had gone off. He looked at it and saw that there was a call from the third floor. He decided instead of calling, he would simply visit. The walk would serve him well. Chapter 2. Within the third floor of the Sacramento Adult Care Facility, apartments were set up along the outer walls where adults who could not function on their own lived under the guardianship of the county. In the center of the floor, there were conference rooms, observation rooms, and activity rooms where the guests had their treatments, participated in facility events, and enjoyed social interaction. On the opposite side of the glass that viewed the inside of observation room 931, Dr. Patel and a few of his staff watched as Asher Graves sat in a chair on the other side of the partition, watching YouTube videos and laughing in hysterics. In front of him, a nearly empty glass of milk and a quesadilla sat next to one of the facility's Chromebooks. Over the room's sound system, Elvis Presley singing "Are You Lonesome Tonight" faded into Etta James's "At Last." "When did this happen?" asked the doctor. Nurse Lisa looked at her watch. "We're not sure. Like an hour ago, maybe? His brother brought him in. Said that they were shopping together, and from one moment to the next, he went from the Asher we know to this." The doctor looked at Lisa. She just shrugged with her hands up. Asher erupted into fresh laughter, and they all looked back at him. They had all seen him laugh previously. It was a rare sight, but it happened from time to time. Mostly it occurred when he was excited. The most recent event occurred when he had discovered a paper shredded in one of the staff's office spaces. He sat next to it and shredded reams of paper with the most jubilant excitement most of the staff had ever seen from him. It did lead to the Asher rule that all shredders had to be unplugged when not in use. Dr. Patel smiled as he watched Asher. Asher was a sweet person, and the doctor, though confused by this change, was very pleased by it. "Are you going to talk to him?" asked Lisa. "Talk?" asked the doctor, looking at his staff one by one. "He talks now?" Lisa pressed an intercom button on the wall by the window. "Asher, honey, would you like some more milk?" "Yes, please," he said in perfect English. "And a banana." "All right, sweetie. I'll be right in with it," she said. "Banana," said Asher, enjoying the feel of the word leaving his mouth. "Thank you, Nurse Lisa," he said. "You see," said Lisa, "that boy is a damn miracle." "Incredible," said Ashok in a loud whisper. "I think I will talk with our guest." When Dr. Patel opened the door, Asher was watching volume 57 of a video series called "Vines You Missed While You Were in a Coma." The radio was now on the Beach Boys song "In My Room" when the doctor switched it off. Asher looked for a moment while taking a bite of his quesadilla, then returned to his video. The doctor took a chair and sat closer than Asher usually liked, watching videos with him. He expected that at any moment, Asher would repeat his previous behavior of using a stiff arm to push the doctor away. But Asher didn't do any of those things. He continued to sit, eat, and watch the videos. The content he was consuming was a collection of silly, over-the-top humor, but to Asher, it was a goldmine of fresh ideas and jokes. And since most of the 5 to 10 second bits that made up the long video needed no context, he loved them. In one video, a young African-American girl manipulated her face with a camera filter to make her face look squished inwards. In the background, her mom watched with a disgusted look on her face. The camera shifted to focus on the mother, and the filter manipulated her face next, and she shifted from having a disgusted face to a shocked one. Asher laughed, and the doctor joined him. "Was that funny, Asher?" asked the doctor. "Yes," said Asher with a childlike smile. "That was funny. These videos are funny. I like them a lot." "Do you mind if we pause the videos for a minute?" said the doctor. "And just have a chat?" "K," said Asher as he pressed the K on the keyboard. K pauses the video. It's also short for OK. People say that to each other sometimes. "That's right, Asher. Where did you learn all that?" asked the doctor as he pulled out his cell phone and opened up a new notes document. He then freed the phone stylus and jotted down the date. "I read an article on WikiHow called How to Watch YouTube Videos. It explained it." "How did you learn about WikiHow?" "Google." "How did you learn about Google?" "Nurse Lisa showed me," said Asher. "She said if I have any questions, I can always just ask Google on the computer or by using the Google Home Mini in my room." Asher then shifted his chair to more fully face the doctor. He made eye contact, something he often avoided during previous treatment sessions. "Is there a reason why we use Google Home here? Why not Amazon Echo? Do we have a contract with Google, or was there a particular feature that appealed more to the hospital?" Ashok jotted down the question in shorthand. I don't know, Asher. That's an excellent question. I'm going to find out, okay? But keep it up. I like that you're asking questions. May I ask you a question, Asher? "'Kay," said Asher. "Why are you speaking now, Asher? Can you tell me?" "I don't know," said Asher. "I just can." The doctor scooted his chair closer to Asher's. The boy watched each one of the doctor's movements, his eyes observing everything meticulously. At least that part of Asher's behavior hasn't changed. "Did something happen?" asked Dr. Patel. "You're not wearing glasses today, Doctor. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you don't. Do you wear contacts? Are they dailies? And do you think I had a traumatic event? Is that what you're asking?" The doctor put his hands to his face in a flustered manner. He had left his glasses upstairs. "I left my glasses upstairs, Asher. I don't wear contacts. Just glasses sometimes. Did something traumatic happen to you, Asher?" "Sort of," he said. "Are your glasses single vision or progressive? Do they have an anti-reflective coat? Are they made out of Trivex or polycarbonate? Did you know that Luxottica controls 80% of the eyewear market? Does Luxottica make your frames? My traumatic event was in a different timeline, so it doesn't matter, though I think there might be some residual effects in space and time that I didn't anticipate. But no, that's not why I can speak now." "Okay, Asher, let's try to stay on topic. I appreciate all of your questions. I do. Look," he said, showing his pad with many notes. "I wrote down all of your questions, and as soon as I get the answers, I will tell you. I promise. But let's talk about my questions first. Is that okay?" "'Kay," said Asher. "You said that your traumatic event happened in a different timeline. We'll go back to that in a moment. But can you tell me why you believe you can speak now when you didn't before?" Asher clutched the ring. The doctor noticed and wrote it down. "I can't say." "You can't say?" asked Ashok. "Or you don't know?" "No, I know," said Asher. "But I can't say. It's a secret." "Why is it a secret?" Asher put his fingers to his lips and, "Shh, it's a secret," he whispered. Dr. Patel sighed. "Okay," he said. "Why did you mention a traumatic event then?" "I was on the internet and I googled people who started speaking after being mute for a long time. There are a lot of articles about people suffering traumatic events before gaining the ability to speak." "You read articles about this?" asked the doctor. "And you understand them?" "I did," said Asher. "I understand everything now." "What's 5 plus 5, Asher?" asked the doctor. Asher held up 10 fingers with a smile. "Okay," said the doctor. "What's 47 times 9? 423, said Asher. "Have you always been good at math, Asher, or is this also new?" asked Ashok. "I am good at everything now," said Asher. "Okay," said the doctor, putting away his cell phone and folding his arms over his chest. "Impress me." "BuzzFeed wrote an article on May 4th of 2005 entitled Ways to Impress People," said Asher. Number 9 was Flatter Them by Knowing Their History. "Do you know my history, Asher?" asked the doctor. "Well, you grew up in Ahmedabad, India. You attended Pramukhswamy Medical College in Gujarat, India. That's where you received your degree in medicine. You worked as a physician in India for 3 years. Your focus was on treating and eradicating malaria in the rural villages affected by the tsunami. You had a high success rate, but in 2005, a group of town elders led a revolt against your clinic and killed most of your staff, including your fiancée, Rowena. This was followed by a massive epidemic in the area that ruined your reputation and forced you and your family to move to the United States. You volunteered as a research assistant at Stanford University Medical Center for a year." "Wait," said Dr. Patel, who had been stunned into silence. "Who told you about Rowena? Who told you any of that?" "No one," said Asher. "Then how did you know? Did you look it up on the internet? Information is just another form of energy. Once you learn how to access it, there are no limits. Asher, said the doctor, that's not... What's become of you? Chapter 3. Ashok sat in his office, hunched over in his desk chair. In his hands, he held an old photograph of a younger version of himself and his departed fiancée smiling at the malaria treatment center they founded in India. In front of him, on his computer, the closed-circuit security camera feed showed dozens of squares, each displaying an area of the 3rd floor. In one of the center squares, Asher was reading a book to one of the other patients. His name was Norman, and he had severe dementia. Most days, he never got out of bed. Lisa entered the office, and Dr. Patel put the photograph away under some papers on his desk. He sat up and grabbed his glasses and wiped them on his shirt. Lisa closed the door behind herself. When Ashok put his glasses on, he found Lisa standing there with her hands on her hips. "What can I help you with, nurse?" said the doctor. "Are you kidding me right now?" said Lisa. "What is going on with Asher?" The doctor looked at the closed-circuit camera feed and observed that Asher had scooted closer to Norman's bed, talking to him while holding his hand. I don't know." "Look, doctor," she said, "I know you're a man of science. I know you have a PhD. But you can't ignore what God has done here. This is a miracle." "I don't know what this is," he said, "but I agree that it is miraculous." "Don't you do that," she said. "Don't you discount God's role in all of this. When I get home every night, do you know what I do? I take out my Bible and I pray for every single patient in this facility. I pray for their sanity, I pray for their good health, and I pray for their recovery. You can't tell me the Lord's Prayer hasn't been answered." "I don't know, Lisa. I don't know. I'll need to do some tests. He'll probably need an MRI to see what's going on in that brain of his. But I will not discount the possibility that this can only be explained as a miracle." "Do you want to see what he did?" asked Lisa. "What did he do?" The nurse reached into her pocket, pulled out his cell phone, and put it on the desk in front of the doctor. The doctor picked it up but didn't notice anything particularly interesting. "I don't understand," he asked. "That's the activity room phone. The one that Sandra used to play Angry Birds on." "The broken one?" asked the doctor, looking at the phone again with renewed interest. "It doesn't look broken anymore, does it?" "Wait," said the doctor. "That doesn't make any sense. That phone wasn't just broken. The screen was cracked. It wouldn't power on. This is a completely different phone." "Look at the back," said Lisa. Ashok turned the phone around and saw writing from a silver-tip Sharpie. "Property of SACF." "I know my own handwriting," she said. "That's me." "It's a coincidence," said Dr. Patel, examining the phone for any clue that it was different. "Asher doesn't have superpowers. He's obviously brilliant, much more so than we realized. He's perceptive, but he can't break the laws of physics. This has to be another phone. That's the only iPhone we had. We switched to Android phones after that one, remember? Asher grabbed the phone from my desk drawer and sat in the corner with it. A few minutes later, he came back and handed it to me. Doctor, he brought that phone back from the dead. I'm telling you, that boy is blessed." "Well, his brother is downstairs filling out the paperwork we need to run some additional tests. One way or another, we are going to get answers to what is happening to Asher and..." Ashok looked again at the camera. There was a dark mist inside of Norman's room. Norman himself was still in bed, but his abdomen was thrust up into the air, contorting in an unnatural way. Asher was standing alongside the bed, holding the man's hand and maintaining a stone rigidness to his posture. "What in the hell?" said Ashok as he stormed out of his office with Lisa behind him and ran for Norman's room. By the time they arrived, Norman was lying in his bed normally, but his blankets were thrown to the ground. The wall beside Norman's bed was covered in a thick, dark, bloody mess. "Asher!" yelled the doctor, pulling him away from Norman. "What are you doing? What did you do to Norman? What did you do? Asher's face grew serious. He didn't like being touched. He was able to stand it a little more now, but he grabbed the doctor's hands and gently, yet forcibly removed them. Norman wasn't suffering from dementia, said Asher. He had a glioblastoma multiforme in his brainstem and it had spread to his spinal cord. I restored the damaged cells and evacuated the cancerous tissue. He's fine now. As they said this, Norman sat up slowly. He turned and let his legs hang off the side of the bed. The doctor, who had still been trying to hold Asher, stopped trying to restrain him and turned to face Norman. Norman, said the doctor, are you fine? I was in a warehouse, he said. It was full of balloons. I wanted to reach out and touch them, but I couldn't. I was being held down by a layer of black foam all over my body. It was suffocating. Then Asher appeared out of nowhere. The nurse and the doctor turned to look at Asher, who was smiling. He came over and he helped take the foam off my body. When it was all gone, I could reach out and touch the balloons. It was amazing. And now here I am. I haven't felt this awake in I don't know how long. He's fine, said Asher, but the others aren't. I will make them fine too. I will make everyone fine. Said Lisa. Jesus is here. She reached out and took one of the doctor's hands and held it within both of her own. Tears were rolling down her cheeks. Jesus is here, Doctor. Thank the Lord Almighty. He has returned. Chapter 4. Asher didn't understand addiction. He didn't understand how it affected the chemistry of the brain, and he didn't understand how the source of that addiction, namely opioids, affected the body. He just knew that Caroline Wilcox was not okay. She had lived in the center longer than anyone else. She was also one of the few patients who was allowed to leave on her own. She had been homeless since she was 9. She had been addicted to various substances since the age of 13, and this was her 4th attempt at rehab. For the most part, she was a kind, sweet, generous soul, but she wasn't without her flaws. When she was hungry for addiction, she could be downright vicious. Today was not a good day. She had locked herself up in her apartment and was scribbling diary entries in her journal, then ripping them up and throwing them away. When the knock came at the door, she was in no mood for guests. "What do you want?" she said. The door cracked open, and Lisa's smiling face peered inside. Then the door fully opened as Lisa led Asher into the room. "Good afternoon, Caroline. How are you?" "Can you get out? Both of you. I don't have time for him right now." She put her hand up as if to block their energy. "I'm kinda messed up right now." "Actually, that's why we're here," said Lisa. "Asher wants to talk to you." Caroline sputtered out a laugh. "That's really funny, Lisa. The toad talks now. I'll believe it when I—" "Am I the toad?" asked Asher. "Why am I the toad?" Caroline's jaw dropped. Lisa smiled and quietly excused herself, patting Asher on the back before closing the door. "I'm sorry, who are you?" asked Caroline. "'Cause I know Asher. I know the hyperactive little man-child, but he doesn't talk." "I talk now," said Asher. "Well," Caroline used an expletive before immediately covering her mouth and waved the word away like a bad smell. She laughed and reset herself, looking at the half-written entry in her journal. "How about that, quiet little man? It looks like it's a day of weird stuff, right? Have other weird things happened?" "Well, yeah," she said. "Apparently I'm a freaking time traveler now. I don't know what the hell is going on, but I'm Groundhog Daying." "I don't know what that means," said Asher, keeping his place by the door. "You don't know Groundhog Day? Bill Murray, trapped in the same day? Oh my god, it's a great movie and you gotta check it out sometime. Seriously. Anyway, all I know is I haven't even gotten high today and nothing is making sense. Except you. You're different. Yesterday, you weren't even here. Except yesterday is today. Yesterday is today," she repeated with a nod of agreement. then jotted the words down in her journal. "Why do you get high?" asked Asher. "Huh?" she said, looking up surprised. "Excuse me? What?" "I can tell that you're not well, and it's because your body's chemical balance has been thrown off by years of dependency. It won't be an easy fix." "Excuse me?" said Caroline, exasperated with offense. "I can't believe what I'm hearing right now. How dare you? How freaking dare you come in here? Look, I don't give a damn if you can talk now. You don't have the right to come in here and—" Asher lifted his hands toward Caroline. "What are you doing?" "I'm going to make you better," he said. "Oh, you're going to fix me? Well, I've got news for you, little toad. I don't need fixing. I regret some of the things I've done, but I don't need or want anyone to fix me. I just don't experience the world the way most people do." Asher hesitated. He lowered his hand slightly. "But I can see that you're in pain," he said. Caroline slammed her journal closed. "Oh, you can see that I'm in pain. Is that why nosy-ass nurse Lisa sent you in here?" "I don't need your help, Lisa," she shouted through the door. "And I don't need you. You think I'm in pain? You're damn right. You're here because somebody gave a damn about you. Somebody who cares. I see that guy pick you up every week. Your cousin or your brother or whatever." Asher let his hand fully drop now. "That is my brother, Raymond." "Yeah, okay. You've got him. You've got somebody. Do you know who I've got?" said Caroline. "Nobody. I grew up on the streets because my parents didn't want me. I haven't seen any family for as long as I can remember. When Dr. Patel found me, I was living in a homeless camp by the American River. He thought he could fix me too. He sponsored the scholarship to pay for my stay here. But there ain't no fixing me, Toad. The pain I've got ain't never going away. Do you know what happens to little homeless girls out there?" Asher thought about it for a moment. He could see the information flowing through the universe like a stream of knowledge. 46% of homeless youth reported being physically abused, 38% reported being emotionally abused, and 17% reported being forced into unwanted sex. "Oh, look at you with all these statistics," said Caroline, now openly teary-eyed. "I guarantee you all those numbers you just pulled out of wherever are double, maybe triple. You know, I have a kid I've never even seen before. I just hope she or he isn't living my life." "Would you like to know?" asked Asher. "What?" asked Caroline. "Would you like to see your child?" "What are you talking about?" Asher walked over to Caroline and extended his hand. "What are you doing?" asked Caroline. Asher said nothing, just kept his hand out. Eventually, and hesitantly, she extended her hand as well. The moment she took it, they were transported to a warehouse full of balloons. Caroline was looking around in astonishment. "What the hell?" she said. "How are you doing this?" Asher said nothing. He simply pointed at a young child running around a sprinkler laughing and having a great time. Caroline looked and she lost her breath. She didn't need to be told what she was seeing. She could feel it. The bond was there. It was her son, who was 5 years old. Caroline put her hands to her face, cupping her nose, and began to cry. "He cannot see you," said Asher. "He cannot touch you. He doesn't know you are here." "That's okay," she said. "He's so beautiful. He looks so beautiful. What's his name?" "Ellis," said Asher. "Ellis," echoed Caroline. The projection of the boy suddenly began to falter. Like a video game with high level of lag, the image stuttered as it moved, then eventually it completely fell apart. Caroline's eyes began to fill with darkness until every bit of white was gone. She let her arms fall to her sides and shook violently while remaining standing. Asher looked at her with unconcerned interest. He didn't know what was happening, but he was interested in finding out. Eventually, whatever was happening to Caroline ran its course, but her eyes remained black. She turned and looked at Asher and smiled a humorless grin. "It's you," she said. "I don't understand," said Asher. "What do you mean?" I knew you were male, but it's nice to put a face to the feeling. You know what I mean? The possessed body of Caroline continued to smile at Asher with a grin that began to make Asher feel uncomfortable. Asher attempted to break away from his mental link with Caroline, but he couldn't. Whatever it was that had taken over her body had also taken control of the warehouse. The figure waggled a finger at Asher. I'm afraid I can't let you leave just yet. We have some things to talk about. What will we talk about? Asked Asher. Why don't we start with names? What's yours? Asher Graves. Asher Graves. I like that. It's kind of gothic. My name's Peter, and I've been looking for you. Thanks again for tuning in. Please don't forget to subscribe and like and share, and check back next week for Chapter 5.